there we go. It immediately drops our custom item. I mean, that's already freaking fantastic, isn't it? If this doesn't amaze you, then I genuinely don't know what will. And with that, welcome to the CurseForge Academy here in this first video where we're going to learn how to make a custom pack in Hytale, and where we will add custom blocks, block drops, items, as well as custom tools. Also note, we're still in early access, so the final UI and the process might change in the future. Just be aware of that. First things first, you want to start by making a new world. This is going to happen by simply making a new world. In this case, we're going to choose creative mode. That is the most sensible, and I'm just going to call this here the CF Academy. I will also change the settings here to pause the time, and I'm going to go into a generated world, although neither of those are necessary. We're going to apply those settings and create the world, and once we're in, we can continue. Now that we find ourselves in the world, the first thing we have to do is open the chat by pressing enter and then /op self in order to op ourselves. If we don't do this, we are not able to open the asset editor because everything is going to happen there. Then we can open the inventory, go to creative tools, assets, and then asset editor, and this is going to launch another window. It's going to look kind of like this. What you'll do to create your first pack is you go up over here to the 3 dots, manage packs, and we're going to add a new pack. The name right here should be a unique identifier. In our case, we can do CF Academy in this case, and the group is going to be your name. So I'm going to choose Kaupenjo. The version will keep like this, and the description is going to be a pack to learn how to make packs. I think that's fair. And then authors, we can add multiple here. For example, we can add Kaupenjo, and theoretically, we could also add over here CurseForge if you wanted to. So if we're happy with this, we're going to hit the save button. And now at the top left corner, you'll see that now the thing that I'm looking at, right, all of the different files right here are Kaupenjo CF Academy. So these are now all my custom files. Before we continue within the asset editor, we will actually close it, and we will also close out of the world that we're currently in, because we first of all need to open the folder itself. There's a very easy trick that you can do. You can go to worlds, the CF Academy world, whatever the world is that you have. You're going to right click, and then you find this open folder button right here. You're going to click this, and that's going to get you to your Hytale folder. So this is an app data roaming Hytale user data saves, and then this is the save of the world of the folder that we've just opened. So the custom pack, as we're developing it, it's going to be inside of the mods folder inside of a world. Once we export it, which we're going to do at the very end of the video, then we will have it somewhere else. But for the time being, we have it in kaupenjo.cf Academy. And right here, we have only a manifest JSON file. That's totally fine, because what we need to do is we need to now, first of all, create a folder structure for our textures. Now, this is quite important, and we're doing this immediately just so that we have it. So this is going to be inside of the kaupenjo.cf Academy, or your pack folder, where the manifest JSON file is located. You're going to right click, new folder, and this is going to be the common folder with an uppercase C, also quite important. We're going to go into this, and then instead of here, we'll need 2 new folders, which is going to be resources. Also make sure that this is written correctly. And the second folder is going to be items. These ones have to be exactly correct, and then inside of those, then you can get whatever structure you want. So instead of the resources, we're, for example, going to have an ore texture and a material texture for a bar, like an ingot. If you want to adhere to the same structure that Hytale has, you can absolutely do that. But for the time being, what we're going to do is we're going to call this over here the ores, and then the other one we're going to call the materials. We're going to go into the materials, and I'm going to copy over the first texture I have, which is the bloom steel ingot. All of this, including the entire pack right here, zipped, will be available to you for download as well. So you can always double check all of the different structure over here. Although if you follow along, it should be pretty self-explanatory. We want to return to the resources folder and go into the ores, as now we're getting an ore texture, which is going to be the bloom steel ore. Who would have thought? Next up, we will go back to the common folder and then proceed to items, as this is where we're going to have our tools. Yes, indeed. So here we're going to have the bloom steel hatchet texture, as well as the bloom steel pickaxe texture. And that's actually all of the textures that we will need for our purposes for the time being. So with that done, that is awesome. And now what we can do is we can go back into the game, into the CF Academy over here, and then proceed with the asset editor again. If the asset editor is open again and you have selected your custom pack, you should also under common now find the items and resources so we can see that all of the different things have been successfully imported. This is quite important to proceed. And now the first block or first item, let's say, that we're going to add. You will find this is incredibly easy actually, specifically compared to some other games. So what we're going to do is we're going to click the plus over here and then we can choose a new asset. The asset that we want to choose is of type item. So we're going to choose the asset type of item. Then we can actually also copy it from an existing asset. And this is the real power of the asset editor, because what we can do is we can copy from Hytale. And let's say, for example, we want to copy from the ore adamantite. This is the ore that drops when you break an ore block. And this is, of course, also what we want. We want, of course, in this case, though, ore bloom steel. And we're simply going to create that. That is going to create a new asset right here on the left side. And then on the right side, you have all of the properties that we can change. Now, there's a lot of properties that we can change for items, for blocks, all of those things. For the time being, we're going to focus on just a couple of them. The first one is right here in general, which is the translation property. Right now, you can see it has a description as well as a name. Now, of course, this is adamantite ore, which is not quite right. What we want to change this to is, of course, instead bloom steel here in this case. Similarly, we could add a description, but we don't necessarily need to. Either is totally fine. So for example, in this case, we can also just delete the description and then we would be fine. Most of these things are up to you, as so many of these things are configurable. So this is really a new world for you to explore. Most importantly, though, here for the custom item, we want to go to the rendering tab right here and then change the item texture, as right now it still uses adamantite. So we click on the little button right here and we change to our custom pack, then go to resources, ores, and we choose the bloom steel ore right here. We select this, and now here comes the craziest part. When we go back to general, we can change the icon. Now this icon is a generated icon that is going to appear inside of the inventory, and we'll also see it right here once we have generated it. If I just click on the little pen right here, you can see it automatically generates this for us based on the custom texture that we've just defined. We simply hit save icon. We can now go cancel. And now this is going to be how this item is going to look like in game. And in fact, the item is already in game. We can even click the equip item button. And if I then switch to the game over here, what you'll find is that there's a question mark in my inventory. And that is exactly our custom item that we've just added. And that is already pretty freaking neat. Now, of course, you will notice there are a couple of issues. Number one, if I hover over this, the name is not quite what we would expect over here. And also, there is no texture in the inventory. That's totally normal. The name we will have to make with a language file, which we're going to do at the end of the video, just sort of to round everything up once we have everything added. And as for the texture, that is going to reload once we reload back into the world. So if we were to simply go to the main menu and reload, well, would you look at that? I'm back in the game and you can see now it has a proper texture as well. Do note that if you ever leave the game and you re-enter your Hytale editor, the session that you have over here is going to, at some point, disappear. There we go, almost as if I had timed it. So you can see I'm now disconnected from the server. You will simply need to restart the asset editor, but luckily that shouldn't be too much of an issue, right? Simply go to creative tools, assets, asset editor, and now we can proceed to change things and add more things. Well, what more things do we want to add? How about a custom block that goes with our custom ore over here? I think that's a great idea. So once more, we will go to the plus right here, and this is, despite what you might think, still an item. So custom blocks are also of asset type item. It's a little bit strange, but I think that we're going to get used to it quite fast. We're going to copy another asset over here, which in this case is going to be, of course, from Hytale. And this is going to be ore again. And let's say we're going to choose ore adamantite basalt. So of course, your custom ore, or any ore for that matter, in Hytale can be lodged into any one of these different blocks over here. They can even be in sandstone and even, crazier blocks and different blocks. So we're going to just add like a basalt and a stone variant. And then theoretically, you could also add more on your own as well. Once I've shown you this 2 or 3 times, you'll see, oh, this is actually, there's no magic behind this. This is unbelievably accessible, and this is so cool. Our unique asset ID is going to be ore_bloomsteel_basalt, and theoretically, we can also make a new folder right here. So for example, we can call this blocks or something like that, right? So now we can choose the blocks folder, And now it's going to actually be a little bit tidier within our item folder right here. You don't have to do this, but you definitely can. So we can create this now. You can see our ore bloom steel basalt is now created. First thing, once again, we want to change the translation property, which is going to be this one right here. Instead of adamantite, we have bloom steel. Like I said, all of the translations are going to be done towards the end, and you're going to find, okay, this is actually more straightforward than you might think. Then we want to go to the block rendering tab, where inside of the block model texture, that is where we want to change from the adamantite right here to our custom one. So we want to go from Hytale to our custom pack. We go to resources, ores, bloom steel ore, select this, and now hands off, it's basically already almost done. This is crazy, but it is really cool. We go back to the general tab, and in the icon, we once again hit the little pen, and now this is our custom ore. How freaking cool is it that it goes that fast to, you know, we think about something, we have our ore, boom, we change a couple of things, and all of a sudden I can equip it, I can go back into the game, and we'll find that once again, I could already set it down, and it just freaking works. Granted to you, absolutely, we still have the question mark, the names are not done, so there are of course things, it's a little bit rough around the edges still, but just the amount of things that we can do, and with the swiftness that we can do them, it is absolutely freaking fantastic. But the next thing you're going to probably ask me is, well, okay, this is all fine and well. However, if I were to mine this particular ore, what are we going to get? Well, we're going to get adamantite ore. That's not quite what we would imagine over here. You're right. But luckily, we can fix this as well very easily. So custom block drops, you might think, oh, this is probably going to be very complicated. Inside of your custom ore right here, you're going to go down to behavior. And then under gathering, we're going to open the breaking right here. And then we just have to open a very long list of things. So you can see this is a very, nested sort of thing. But the cool thing about it is that because it's so nested, you can do so many different things with it, right? So this is one of the powers of this whole Hytale Asset Editor. Right, so this has two containers right here. One of them is ore adamantite, and the other one is the rock basalt. Of course, we want to change the ore adamantite to, well, just our custom one. So we're going to change from Hytale to our custom pack, items, or bloom steel. And now, when we break this, immediately, it's going to give us our custom or bloom steel. You might not believe me, but I can switch to adventure mode, and there we go. It immediately drops our custom item. I mean, that's already freaking fantastic, isn't it? If this doesn't amaze you, then I genuinely don't know what will. Also very cool to note, under the ores, our custom ore has already automatically been added, as we of course copied over from the already existing ores right here. So that's why this is already done. Pretty freaking neat. All right, while we now have the bloom steel basalt, there are of course way more different types. So for the time being, we will add one more type, and then what I recommend you do is you add the others on your own time. I will show you one more time how this works, and you will find that you will absolutely be able to do this, okay? So once again, you go to the plus over here. Now in this case, because we already have a bloom steel ore created, what we're just gonna do is we're just gonna copy the same one over here, the basalt one, and then we're gonna change it to stone. And you're going to find also quite straightforward. We're going to put this into the same blocks folder right here. That seems very straightforward. And then we're going to do ore underscore bloom steel underscore stone in this case. So this is going to be creating another stone variant. Here, the translation properties, we still need to change from basalt to stone. That's actually also quite important. That's always the first thing I want to do, because translation is one of the things that I might forget. Then we want to go down to a rendering first of all and change, of course, the texture, but this time not the bloom steel texture, but rather the block texture. So we want to change the block texture from the basalt to, in this case, in Hytale, rock underscore stone. And we want to choose the normal stone basically. We want to select this, and now it's going to be like our custom ore is going to be lodged instead of stone instead of a basalt. And finally, we want to go to behavior, to gathering, breaking, and we want to open this crazy block list again over here. And this time, instead of changing the bloom steel, we want to this time change from rock basalt cobble to rock underscore stone underscore cobble. Luckily, the naming scheme is pretty straightforward. So we are going to find our rock stone cobble right here, and boom, now we have it. In general, we can once again click the little pen for the icon, and we can save. And there we have it, bloom steel ore inside of stone. We can give it to us, and you'll find, boop, 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 boop. There it is, and this is the basalt one, so you can clearly see those are in 2 different blocks in this case, and we can even see if I were to mine this, not only are we going to get normal cobblestone, which is exactly what we would intend to, we also are still getting our custom bloom steel ore. I mean, just unbelievably amazing. Right, and just with this sort of workflow, you will now also, what I recommend you do is you add the other bloom steel ore variants as well, right? So this would be sandstone, volcanic, there's shales, slate, things like that. Just add those as well and just play around with this a little bit. One of the things that's super important is to be open to experimentation when it comes to anything that you're adding, because if you test things out and you try things out and you're like, what is going to happen if I do this? Just try it out. The Hytale Asset Editor genuinely is so well built that it encourages you to just experiment a little bit. So that's a very good idea. All right, next up, of course, our bloom steel ore is all fine and well, but what if I now want to smelt this into an ingot? Well, we of course first of all need the ingot, but once again, you're gonna see, very straightforward. And this might be my favorite word to say, but it just is the case, as the asset editor is just great. We're gonna click on the little plus over here again, and we're going to this time copy from Hytale an ingredient. So this is going to be ingredient, and you can see that the first ones that we get over here are the bars. So we're just going to copy over, let's say, the bronze bar, and we're going to call this the ingredient underscore bar underscore bloom steel. This is going to go into the items folder. That's fine. So we're going to create this, and here it's even simpler than you might think. Of course, first thing is to change the naming scheme again. This is the bloom steel. There you go. Once again, translations coming in they're going to come in soon. They're going to come in soon. Then rendering, we're going to go to the item texture right here to change it to our custom one, which is in resources, materials, bloom steel ingot. And finally, once you go back to general, icon over here, boom, there it freaking is. And it looks absolutely amazing. Now we can once again immediately give it to ourselves. And there we have it. Of course, no texture right now inside of the inventory. That's a little bit of a thing. So what we're going to do for the time being is we're going to restart the world one more time, just so that we have, you know, proper textures over here. Would you look at that? That just looks way nicer over here. And of course, don't forget that that means that we will need to restart the asset editor again. But of course, that's like such a small price to pay for finally having proper freaking textures over here. And there we go. Now that we have the ingredient inside of the game, you might say, okay, that's all fine and well, but what are we going to do now, right? I want to craft this particular ingot, like this ingot should be craftable. Yeah, I agree with you. And this is incredibly easy as well. Right, so we're going to go to the crafting tab general, and you'll find that there is no recipe currently available. That is because we've copied the bronze bar, which is of course the one that does not have a recipe. But this is a great moment to basically teach you another thing. At the top left corner, we can of course change back to Hytale over here, which is read only. We can then search, for example, for bar underscore, which will get us all of the bars. And now here comes the crazy thing. So let's say I really want this bar to basically also work like copper. Well, we can take a look at all of the copper things, right? So from the base game, we can go to general, recipe right here. And what I can do is I can simply right click over here, copy value. Now you might say there is no way that this is going to work. Of course, I'm going to go back. You can see we're back in our CF Academy pack, and I can simply right click, paste value, and boom, it's going to paste all of those values in as if this was now the copper bar. You can see the input over here is now ore copper. The bench requirements is going to be the furnace, and it takes 10 seconds to smelt. That is so unbelievably awesome. I can't even contain my excitement over here, okay? And now to make this our own item, of course, we simply change from the copper ore right here to ore bloom steel. And just with this, boom, we're going to change this to maybe 4 seconds, just so that we don't have to wait so long. It's done. We now can create our own custom ingot very straightforwardly, right? So now we simply want to go to the furnace, get ourselves a furnace, we get ourselves some charcoal over here, and what you will find is that I can put this in, and then here, the ore, I can put this in, I can turn it on. This seems about 4 seconds long, and now, once it's done, there we have it, our custom bars. I mean, that is just incredible to me still. I still am amazed at how, with what ease you can basically create custom items, custom recipes, all of that craziness. And now we're gonna basically put the cherry on top by adding a custom pickaxe and a custom hatchet as well. I already hear you say, well, now it's going to be complicated. No, we're still going to simply add custom items. In this case, with the plus right here, we're going to add, or we're going to first of all copy over what exactly? Well, we're going to copy over a pickaxe. Let's say, for example, the adamantite pickaxe right here in this case. And this is going to be tool underscore pickaxe underscore bloom steel. We're going to create this, and you will find once more, first and foremost, of course, the translation, changing that one over here, bloom steel. When we add the hatchet, then the translations are going to be done. You'll find not to worry at all. Rendering over here, of course, changing the texture right here is going to be the one for items, and this is going to be the pickaxe. Now, this is already basically made for the adamantite blocky model. You can, of course, also change the model, change the texture, right? I'm not a good texturer, nor am I a good modeler, so we have to be okay with, very basic things like this one right here. What I found is when you make tools, for some reason, the icon doesn't generate properly immediately, so you might have to change the positioning here a little bit, but overall, that's going to be fine, right? You can just eyeball it, save the icon, and there we have it. Now, this is also my unbelievably beautiful texture work. I know, it's almost... This is the definition of eye candy, isn't it? This particular pickaxe is going to work immediately. Now, let's say, for example, we might want to change the quality to epic, right? Instead of rare, this is an epic one. And maybe the item level is 45 instead of just 40. But that's basically already it. So we can now, once again, go in and we will find our custom pickaxe right here. So here, of course, very importantly, once again, doesn't have a texture right here, doesn't have a name yet, but we already have it. And what we can do is, if we were to mine over here, that all works. There's no issue with that whatsoever. Now here, very importantly, one question you might have is, well, right now it destroys our blocks right here in one hit. Maybe that's a little bit overpowered. I actually want to change this. Absolutely no worries. We go to our functionality tool. And then here, there's a lot of things over here. Do not worry, we're going to go through one by one. The first is the durability loss block type. Basically meaning that if you mine any of these blocks, right? So if you hit any of these blocks, per hit, you're going to lose 25% of one durability, right? So what you will find is that right now, the pickaxe has 397. Let's take a look over here. 397, 397, 397. And then at the fourth block hit, we have 396. So every hit, we're going to lose 0.25 durability. And that's only with these specific block sets, also very important. So you can, of course, change this higher, lower, whatever you so choose. Next up is the specs, and these are the definitions for each different type of block on how much power it has. Power means that when you have a 1, it destroys it in one hit. If you have 0.05, that would be 5% of a hit. So each hit, you're going to get 5% breaking progress. So if we were to go to the rocks, for example, instead of 1, we're going to do 0.5. All of a sudden, it will take 2 hits over here. 1, 2. Right, there we go. If I change it to 0.25, it's going to take 4 hits. 1, 2, 3, 4. And just so that you really understood this, if I put it to 0.1 over here in this case, it's going to take 10 hits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, I don't even know what to tell you, but the fact that you can change it, it immediately registers it. Absolutely freaking fantastic, man. Let's set this to like 0.25 is, I think, totally fine. And that's already added the custom pickaxe. And now finally, just the custom hatchet, which is going to be exactly the same sort of way that we're going to go about this. Plus over here, we're going to copy over an already existing hatchet. I always recommend, if the asset already exists inside of Hytale, simply copy over that asset. That's going to be way easier than, well, doing everything on your own. In this case, we're going to use the iron one, tool underscore hatchet underscore bloom steel. We're going to create this, and here, of course, again, we're going to go to the rendering. No, first of all, first translation. See, this is what I mean. This is very easy to forget. Bloom steel, and the description we can even keep, as this is a generic description for every hatchet. And then rendering, we were going to change the texture to our custom one right here. This is items, the bloom steel hatchet, yes. And then under the icon, under the general tab, we want to change this over here, and you'll find we got ourselves a custom freaking hatchet. I mean, come on. Boom, boom, boom. And that's it. The hatchet is in game. We can take a look at this. So we go once again into creative mode. We go hatchet, boom, there it is. And I mean, and then we have it, and there we go. I just, you know, you gotta admit, some of this stuff, the fact that it's so easy and so fast, of course, you know, making custom texture, making custom models, those are things a bit more involved, right? I absolutely agree with you, but for the time being, adding things to this game is so unbelievably easy and so incredibly accessible. I am just in awe about this. I'm in awe, and I really, really like it. All right, and now let's tackle the final boss, which is translations. Currently, the translations cannot be done via the asset editor, so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go back to our folder over here. So this is going to happen inside of the server folder, where we're going to make a new folder, which is going to be called languages. Very importantly, uppercase L, and make sure that this is written correctly. I have misspelled this numerous times before, and much to my own surprise and chagrin, because yeah, it's very easy to misspell, so there you go. Inside of the languages folder, we want to create another new folder. Also has to be exactly written like this: lowercase en, then a dash, and then US, all uppercase. Has to be written exactly like this. Very, very important. And inside of here, we'll make a new text file. We're going to right now call this server.txt. And then we're going to right click this, edit in Notepad. And then here, it's quite important that what we want to do is we want to go to File, Save As, and then choose all files right here and name this is extremely important, server.lang or lang. We want to save this, and now a second file has appeared, which is now a lang file. Because this needs to be a lang file, it cannot be a text file. So we can delete the text file right here, and we can continue to change the lang file. And now here, how is this going to work? It is very straightforward. What you will do is, you will simply go into your asset editor, and let's say, for example, this name right here. We're going to take everything after the server. So the server over here, this determines what the name of the particular file is that we're looking at in terms of the languages. And then everything afterwards, that's the key. So this is going to be the items.tool_hatchet_bloomsteel.name is equal to, so just an equal sign. And this is the Bloomsteel hatchet. And this works within one line. So there you go. I can now press the Control S key to save this. And if I go back in here and I click into this, we should already detect this. Sometimes it doesn't detect it immediately, meaning that we sometimes just have to go outside of the world to detect the translation properly for the first time. But once that is the case, so what you'll find is if I hover over this, you can see Bloomsteel hatchet. So that already works. Of course, all of the other items do not have names yet, but we can, of course, simply we'll add those to the server lang as well. So here we go. I've just added everything over here. For example, Bloomsteel ore, and then the ingot right here, the pickaxe and the hatchet, of course. Then we got the stone and basalt of the ore. And then here I have also added the three that we haven't added, right? So the shale, the slate, and the volcanic ore, theoretically, that you can add on your own time as well. Highly recommended to try this. And I've saved this. And now if I go back into the game, sometimes it doesn't immediately go, but there we actually already have it. So you can see Bloomsteel ore works, Bloomsteel pickaxe works. Do not be afraid, because when you change your custom translation, all of the different files over here or all of the different items inside of vanilla will not have a proper name. If you rejoin the world, everything will work again. So I've rejoined, and you can see everything here now works. Freaking phenomenal. Now, before we export our pack, what we're going to do is we, of course, also want to be able to craft our custom items. Now, while they are available right now, they do not have the right recipes. So, of course, we simply need to change those. And, of course, simply is the right word. Because inside of the asset editor, we simply want to go to crafting right here, and we have a recipe available. And it is as easy as changing here the item ID, as you can see, from, for example, ingredient bar adamantite to ingredient bar bloomsteel. And the same thing goes for the hatchet, where we also go to crafting, recipe, input, and the first one here is iron. Instead, we're going to change this to bloomsteel, and just doing this, open the workbench, and you can see it already has taken the new recipes. Absolutely fantastic. And now we can move on to the last step, to export our custom pack, so we can, well, share it on CurseForge, share it with our friends, or just so that we have it, well, properly exported. Let's see how that works. To now make your pack shareable, it's actually very straightforward as well. You want to go to your save. So this is the world that we've created this particular pack in, to the pack folder. So this is where the JSON over here is located, the manifest JSON, as well as your common and server folder. You want to select all three of them, right click, and then what you want to do is you want to choose compress to zip file. This we're going to then name, let's say, for example, CF Academy here in this case. And this is now our pack, which you can share. So you can upload this zip to CurseForge, or theoretically, you can also take it. And what you can do is you can go to app data, roaming, Hytale user data. So this is going to be in user data inside of the mods folder. And this is where you put packs and or plugins. So this is zip files and jar files. And now I will be able to access this particular pack in all my worlds. So if I go in over here, I go to world and I make a new world over here, let's say in creative mode, then you could find over here the CF Academy pack right here by Kaupendro and CurseForge. So that is now available. Do note that if you add your custom pack to the mods folder, that the previous world that we've made the pack in is going to have some issues because now there's 2 packs with the same name. So do remember that if you want to continue your work, you will likely have to take that zip file out of here and just sort of save it somewhere else for the time being. Just be aware of that. This zip file will also be available to you down below, so you can download it and immediately try it out. If you want to take an already existing pack and want to, well, repurpose it or continue to develop it, what you're going to do here is, because this is in the mods folder, we're going to cut this out and we're going to put it back into our saves, CF Academy, mods right here, and we're going to simply paste this in. Now here it's very important that the zip file that was previously inside of the mods folder, so this is the user data mods right here, no longer exists. Right? And if we go back over here, we can basically delete our previous pack and we can simply extract all, and we're going to extract this to the CF Academy. There we go. Now we'll delete this zip file as well, as if we have multiple of them, then it's not going to work. And if we were to now go into the world, CF Academy over here, then you'll find that everything is still working, even though we've basically deleted the original one and we've just put a pack and extracted it, and you'll find, there we go, everything is still here and everything is still working. And the cool thing is, because we've extracted this, we can now also continue to work on it. So this is the reason why Hytale is read-only, because that is available in a zip file format, while your own custom pack inside of this particular world is as a folder, and as soon as you zip it together, then it also becomes read-only until you extract it again. There you have it. That is how to make custom tools and your first custom pack in Hytale. I hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more CurseForge Academy tutorials. See you in the next video.